All right, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, once again, and welcome back to another sketchbook tour. Yeah, another one because I'm lazy and I should have done this a while ago. Anyway, this is the sketchbook that I, as you can see, kind of just went all over the place, and it was a nice time for experimenting, honestly. And you'll see that towards the entire thing. So let's just go ahead and get right on into this. So the first one we have here is an ink painting. Technically, all of this was done in ink, and this was when I had bought some new colored ink just to see how I could actually work with it. I really liked working with the colored ink at the time because of all of the shades and variations that I made while mixing the ink. Some of the ink didn't actually mix well, and it actually kind of mixed not well for the better. I have no idea how to properly phrase that, but this is how this goes. I really liked it. I kind of watched a Bob Ross tutorial, painting while doing this, and as usual, they never turn out the exact way Bob does it, so that's how that goes. That's funny. So on to the next one, we have Hellboy, because I drew this in April of last year when the Hellboy movie actually came out. And I actually I drew this while I was watching the original Hellboy 1 and 2 because I just hadn't seen them in a while and I wanted to get some inspiration. I have the little thumbnail that I did here, which was supposed to be him holding his signature revolver, which was called the Good Samaritan, but I never got around to it, and by the time I got to this half where the gun would have been, it didn't seem right, so I left it out. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. And the gray wash that I used on his coat was from the same ink when I was experimenting and everything. And his skin was basically Sharpie, which comes out very well on camera, but again, these are some of the things that actually look a little odd when you see them in real life, but that's kind of how it goes, and it's fun to see things like this in a different eye. So on to the next one, we have, this is a headless Banshee. I actually recorded this one as well. You can probably see it up here somewhere. This one was extremely fun just because of how disembodied, yes, that's how a disembodied head works. Just how disembodied the actual drawing was and everything. And I wanted to express and experiment with different textures from ink brushing, as well as using napkins to smudge ink as well. That's what all of this is. And if you ever see anything like this on some of my traditional works, that's kind of what it is anyway. It's a very fun technique, and it gets a lot of cool details that you can never really replicate with a pencil just out onto the canvas. So if you all ever want to do something like that, you can. So I encourage you to do so. On to the next one. This is a self-portrait of me. This was when I was in college and I had my drawing class come up. Well, this was towards the end of my drawing class and they wanted a self-portrait, so I just drew a picture of myself with a brush in my mouth, because I always end up chewing on the ends of my brushes just out of habit. A very, very terrible habit, but I've only ruined 3 brushes with it so far, so yeah. I really like this one. I like the glasses. I like the way I drew the glasses and everything with the shine, which was kind of the harder part of everything here. And then I just did a little glow around effect. I think I made my shoulders too broad, but maybe I didn't. Okay, so yeah, there's that. Oh, also I did make a note to myself. I was watching one of Proco's videos while he was drawing a portrait of Marshall Vandriff as well, which really helped me concentrate and actually figure out how to do a pencil portrait. which was overall very fun. And as you see, here's the result. All right, so here is the next one. This one here is this was a piece on surrealism, and this was a project in my drawing class from last year that I really enjoyed making because I had no idea what surrealism really was. So once I ended up making this piece, it kind of fell right into place. It's just a giant bird. This was a blue jay. That's what my reference was, and this was just a farmhand who wanted to come and get some eggs from the blue jay because big bird, big eggs. I think that's how that works, possibly. If you're a birdologist, please tell me if I'm wrong or not. And yeah, so all this grass around here was done just with about 17 different pencils because I had no idea what I was doing at the time. So yeah, that's how that works. So I think that's it for this one. So this one was an odd one, but I did enjoy this one nonetheless. This was a piece that I wanted to test out with, I wanted to test my watercolors with, and I ended up doing that, and it turned out a lot better than I thought it would. There was a couple of things that I wanted to change here, but I never got around to it, so I kind of just left it like this. But it was, I actually don't know how to describe this one. I titled this one The Cult of the Black Sun, but I don't know the story that I made up behind it. I never wrote it down. You know, that's unfortunate, but that's how it goes sometimes. I don't like it, but that's how my mind works. I don't think there's anything else I want to say about this one. So, on to this one here. This one is the Pigma Infinitum. This was an ancient Colosseum that I wanted to draw last year, which I ended up doing. And this was just a very long doodle with 3 Sharpies and some... What is the... I forget the name of the... I actually forget the name of the... This little right here. This is the AD fine tip marker. This is actually one of my old ones. I just drew this with these basically. I have no idea what I was actually doing at the time. Crazy things. But this is the end result, and I really love this one. This one took what, 3 hours to make, and then over the course of a couple of days. Okay, I'm rambling now. All right, so on to the next one. So here is my first test in abstract painting. This was when I was taking my painting class, and we were going into abstraction. So I decided to go ahead and dive into abstract art a week before we started our abstractions. So this is the first one I had. I really like this one because of all these swatches the slashes going all around. It makes a lot of dark areas and then the light areas too, because I started with orange and then the orange got overtaken by the yellow. The purple, as you can see. Yes, purple. And I really like this one. And on the back of this, I did a second one, which was, I forgot the name that I had for these, but it was, I forgot the name I had for this one, but this one was a combination of a aquamarine, a sap green, let's see, the dark brown, and then this was light sienna. Yes, those are the colors. Yes, those are how colors work. And I actually ended up doing some swatches here, and then the perspective line that I had in my head was going to be about right here. So this was kind of a pathway, if you can see that anywhere, if you can actually see what I meant by a pathway, which it's kind of fun, you know. It's kind of fun. So yeah, that's this one. And this one here is a pencil doodle that I did last year as well. This was in a video that you can see about right here. This was helping me deal with some art block that I had going into a new semester. Well, yeah, into a new semester at college. This one really helped me get through a couple of things. I wanted to experiment with some shading, some pencil textures, and cross hatching as well, which you can see all throughout the piece. And this was really fun to do, and I'm glad it got me out of that little rut that I was in. And you'll see another one of those a little later as well. And so before we get to this one, there is another one that should be right here as well. This was a portrait of my grandmother that I did just because she had been asking me a lot to draw her, because everybody wants to be drawn, because vanity is not dead. So I ended up doing that over the course of about 3 hours, and I was listening, and I actually remember specifically that I was listening to The Richest Man in Babylon while I was doing so. And that book, combined with that little quality time I spent with her, was a very good day, honestly, because I finished that book in a couple of hours. It was only about 3 hours long. And yeah, that was just a good day. So on to this one back here. This one is another abstract painting that I did, which was called the, hold on, let me get that out of the way. This one was called The Black Steps of the Madhouse. And this was just a abstract painting that I wanted to try out because I had bought some more paint previously. It was just smaller amounts of paint, but I wanted to experiment with color mixing and how, well, I actually used too much black, but that was kind of the point. And I wanted to see how everything actually looked once I basically just committed to doing some abstraction. So there's a platform right here, and then everything else goes up. We have a little slope that goes here because I ended up doing a lot of that and I didn't even notice it. But yeah, there's not much to fully say about this one other than that, because yeah. And okay, so some of these are actually out of order. Okay, we'll start off here anyway. Yeah, so this was just a page of sketches that I ended up doing when I had no idea what else to do. Pose, focusing on hands and line work, as well as, and I kind of lost my train of thought. So anyway, so I ended up drawing a bird here as well, just to experiment. I don't know where I saw this bird, but this was in January of this year, so it was somewhere. And then I ended up drawing this little lady right here with some experiment with textures and watercolors, just to see how that works. And I really liked that. That was fun. I drew noses up here as well. This was just a page of doodles for a lot of stuff. I really like it. And on the back as well. So I did 2 portraits, and then another portrait, and this was a full pose. Yeah, I was kind of all over the place with this one, and then I was actually experimenting with some, well, actually I wasn't experimenting, I was just practicing shading, tones, as well as cross-hatching. Because cross-hatching is fun, and I figured out that the thinner the line, the better, because, you know, that makes more sense than anything else. So I ended up having some fun with that, and yeah, that's kind of how this works. So on to the next one. I really need to order these. Hold on, and there we are. So I think this one was actually, yep, here we are. So this one right here was when I got my first set of charcoal pencils, and I wanted to go ahead and just experiment with charcoal. So that's what I ended up doing. So I did this one in February, and all of these right here were done in September of 2019. So I just wanted to draw a face and another face, and I wanted to experiment with the the kneaded eraser I had, it's actually under my table because it's kind of kneaded, so I can just stick it on places. So I ended up using that for certain highlights. The white charcoal pencil didn't work as well for these right here, but it did work very, very well for this one right here. And I really did appreciate what I could pull off with basically charcoal and a medium that I didn't really know how to use at the time. I really appreciate it. Here's that one right there. I basically just made this into toned charcoal paper, and that worked mainly because this is vellum paper, so the charcoal actually stuck a little bit better. But when you want to experiment with charcoal, I highly recommend you get charcoal paper because it will save you a lot of hassle. So I turned this around for a reason. So put this away. And these are just doodles and sketches and practice of a horse. My grandparents have a horse in their backyard over in Alabama, so I ended up just drawing that little horse. Well, it was a giant horse actually. It was actually very big for a female horse. And that's all these really are. Let's see. Oh, here it is. So this is a background, mixed media background illustration. You can actually see that over here if you want to. This one was a combination of graphite, ink wash, India ink itself, a little bit of Micron, and then charcoal up here. I had no idea what was going through my head, honestly, but I just wanted to capture this scene of a rugged and rough, half dead, half alive forest, because it was in the middle of winter, where some of the forest in my backyard was a little dead, but not everything was. So that means there was a lot of dried leaves and everything. And I really liked capturing that. And I also met a couple of people while I was sitting out there doing it. So yeah. And here are some caricature and face designs. Just some fun stuff. Nothing really much to say here. I did experiment with some watercolor on the skin tones here, and I really loved how these turned out, especially how they look on camera as well. And this one here was just a watercolor forest that I never posted to this channel. Weird. Okay. Anyway, so that's how that works. This little goofy guy looking up at something for some reason, and then this was Johnny Test, but you know, you never notice until somebody tells you. But that's how this one goes. These were done in July of last year, so almost a year ago. Oh. And these are some Spider-Man sketches. So you've actually seen these two already. But I also drew this one here. This is the Iron Spider outfit. And then I also drew Night Monkey as well. Or at least that's what he calls himself in the movie. I drew these in July of last year, and I ended up really liking these a lot more. And I felt that I should have finished this one at least, because this one was the most complete. Well, most complete of all of these, but sometimes you don't finish certain things. I actually may do it later on, but I'm not in the mood for it. But yeah, this is the most times I've drawn Spider-Man like ever though. So ha 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 ha. So on to the next one. So this is what happens when you have charcoal everywhere. It gets everywhere because charcoal never dries. It's just as worse as lead sometimes. But, well, graphite I should say. But here are some watercolor worlds basically. These were 3 circles that I filled in with watercolor. I ended up doing a sketch of all of these here, and then I basically just colored it in and added the color balance, and just overall had fun learning about watercolor. And it was enjoyable. And I did this after my painting class, so I actually knew how to work my brushes a little bit better. So yeah, this whale here made me laugh a lot. And we also have this one here. This one was a cliff, multiple cliff faces, so I wanted to experiment with different shades of brown to light the terrain here. I actually could have used gray to do something like this, but I didn't at the time. And this was this was an idea along with this one right here. Both of these were ideas that I wanted to try later on, but I didn't really do at the time, at least. And it still gives me an idea for something later that I'll actually do digitally this time in the future. So there you have it. And then these are some ink doodles from when I first had my calligraphy pen, and this one is another watercolor piece. All of these were great, and these three are more silhouettes of a forest, as well as a little bit of haze and mist. I like the stippling I did around this one here. That one was fun. Really like that one. And then here are these two. This one looks a bit weird now that I think about it. It feels like a multi-armed monster, as if this was under the sea. Huh. I think I should have did that. But that's how that works. And then this one was a misty mountain. And I really liked the line textures that I ended up making while I basically swapped with my tissue technique. I didn't make that up. Like, I learned that from Jim Lee, and he didn't learn it. He learned it from somebody else that I forgot the name of. But basically, that tissue technique is super helpful, and you'll see a little bit more of that later on. That's how this works. So yeah, that's how these go. All right. So this is another divided. So this is one piece down here. It's upside down, and then these are two other pieces. This one was from my family reunion I took to Alabama last year. So I sat down and I drew a scene, and I just lit it up with charcoal and some ink wash as well, which was very fun, and it was a nice experience to have. It was a nice experience to have with this one here, and I just sat out there with all my new and old cousins that I didn't really know I had to make this one right here. And then when I got back home, I ended up doing this one from a closer perspective. This was basically brick house here, as well as the terrain, and then I drew some cats right here because at the time my now adult cats were babies because they had just been born. And then this looks like a path to a tree, but this was actually a large amount of grass. Well, I think it's called kudzu. That was just all over the place, and now it's back because that thing just grows back over the summer. That's how that worked, right? So we have this one now, which is an expanded version of this one here. That scene basically, I went overboard with the charcoal, but I ended up doing this. I actually remember I was doing this at 7 o'clock in the morning, so that may have taken some effect or caused it to do something. I don't know. But this one was very much enjoyable because of the dark areas I actually captured, which was, again, this is the same area, but I wanted to light it differently. I didn't light it properly, but I ended up making it into something that I liked a bit more. And because the sun was technically here, I didn't draw any houses over here, but the sun was coming here, and it would have been shining through some of these leaves here. I didn't capture that though, but I still enjoyed making this one, especially just this tree, because that's probably the reason why I made this, honestly. Alright, so that one's that. Alright, so this one is, this is another watercolor piece. This is two that I split down the middle. This was just an experiment that I did this was before I went to a picnic, and then this was one I did during a picnic where I just wanted to capture the tree line, and didn't really want to do anything too technical. I just wanted to capture the greens and the blues and then the browns as well. I experimented with texturing the leaves and the line of trees here that you can't really see, and that worked, but you can still see that there's a need for improvement. But I still like this one. I really do. I actually should find some of the pictures because I have a habit of taking a lot of references and everything. So yeah, that's kind of this one, honestly. There's not much else I really need to say about this one. This one was very enjoyable. So flip that there. Oh yeah, this was fun. So this was actually a just an experiment with my, at the time, new brush pens. I actually had bought some new brush pens from Hobby Lobby, and they were fun. What I wanted to do, which kind of was a mistake, I ended up taking this one and turning it into an ink brush. The ink brush worked, but it kind of permanently stained this brush, so it's not even that the clear tip anymore, which, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it was really hard to clean this out, and it took a lot of rubbing alcohol to get it to where it is right now. But now it can actually color. And speaking of color, this one got discolored because of the next one behind this one here. So what I ended up doing was basically taking the ink and just dipping it all over the place, which was very fun. I actually ended up making some bird silhouettes and sketches right here as well, which in retrospect I could have did a little better, but all I wanted to do was experiment with how to use an actual ink brush. And then I made this little tunnel with a silhouette of a hunched over hooded figure with another one right here. Now, I don't know if you can see that yet, but that's how that works. And before I get to the next one, there is another one that's missing from the sketchbook, which is currently with my aunt because I gave it to them as a Christmas present. It's the one I used for my video on my goals for 2020, and I actually should do an update video to that. But yeah, here's the video. Here's the picture for that one here. This was just another pencil doodle that I mentioned earlier in the video. I like this one because of how it was a bit more random, but it was a lot more organized and structured than anything, because I had the little pre-sketch that I wanted to use as a base to help me make it a little bit better. And once I saw that I was deviating from the pencil sketch, I kind of moved the sketch out of the way, and I just ended up drawing full on while I was thinking about what else I wanted to do. So there's the end of that one, and here is, let's see, yep, I had a feeling. So here are some other portraits that I wanted to do. I experimented with these. I did all of these outside while I was just in the sun, basically, and all of these helped me do a couple of things. These right here were watercolor. These were watercolor pens, water-based brush pens and everything that I used. I mentioned those in the last sketchbook tour. I actually should use those a little bit more, but I bought those because they were 50% off and everything. And I wanted to experiment with skin tones, but I realized I could do that with color pencils, which I ended up doing. But you all will see a bit more of that. And I think that's it here. Yeah. And here is the last one. Let me move all this stuff out the way. This is the last piece I did in this sketchbook. I did this one on March 6th of this year. This one was a shrouded monk, and you can see the video up here and all that good stuff. I enjoyed this one because this was one of the last pieces I made with well, this is one of the first pieces I made with my watercolor brush pens, but this was one of the last pieces I made with my ink brush pen, because that thing malfunctioned a lot. So that's why I had to actually clean it out, because the ink was gunking up this area right here, which is where you need the, let's see if I can do it. Yeah, this is where you would need the water to actually go, and it still has ink in it. Okay, this is all right. This video's already gone on too long. So here's here's that Shaolin monk picture. See, look, this is what happens when I get distracted. You're seeing live how distracted I can get sometimes. So this is basically it. This is it right here. And so I forgot how I ordered these. These things are so out of order. It's bad. It's so bad. This is a terrible video. This is a terrible video. I should have recorded this a little better. But anyway, we're gonna just leave it like that. So in conclusion, I need to be better organized when it comes to doing these things. So there you go. So there, boom. All right. Still didn't mess it up right. Wait. Anyway. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching this very long video for a sketchbook tour, but I might cut it down a little bit. I do want to thank you all for tuning in and actually watching and just listening to me talk about some of my sketches. Okay, these are all backwards. Anyway, so if you did enjoy the video, I would like for you to like the video, share this video with someone else you might think might benefit from looking at some of these little sketches here, and tell me below what you want to see next, as well as tell me your thoughts on this sketchbook, because this is one of my longest ones. This actually took me 7 months to fill in, and it was very fun, but you know, very long. So in the end, I think that's all we really need, just some time to fill. So I will check you all later, and be sure to subscribe as well, just in case you haven't done that already, so you can see a couple more of these types of videos in the future. And until then, I will see you all next time.